working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts-Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts-Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.
A pleasant afternoon. Welcome to Working for You. I am Roy Williams. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's program, wherever you are. Your company is very much appreciated. Today we are going to be talking loans, and particularly we will be speaking about the National Pride and the National GRAD loan programs which the St. Kitts-Nevis-Anguilla National Bank Limited has. And I have in the studio with me officials from the National Bank to speak about these two loan programs that are intended to help citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis in their advancement towards home ownership and other things. I have with me Mr. Anthony Morton, who is no stranger, of course. He is the Executive Manager of Marketing at the National Bank. Mr. Morton, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
Pleasure to have you here. And we have Miss Paula Morton, who is Officer in Charge of the Credit Division at the National Bank. Miss Morton, welcome.
Thank you.
Great. It's the first time I'm having you on this program, so it's always a pleasure when people make their inaugural appearance on this program. So you are very welcome.
I thought it would be giveaways and goodies, and it is we're making our debut, but
you're the marketing manager, and I know you're accustomed to that, but we haven't reached there yet. Okay. Okay. Now, National Bank. What is the mission of National Bank?
Oh boy, it's a great question. And let me just say good afternoon to you, Mr. Williams, and good afternoon to all your listeners, both locally and abroad. I want to thank you for inviting us on your show, Working for You. Permit me to play on those same words when I say National Bank have revamped, rebranded, and improved the National Pride and National GRAD home mortgages. When we did that, we were truly working for you, the people of this great federation. And today, Mr. Williams, we will be unveiling to your audience two new home mortgages that we launched on May 2nd, 2019. Before I answer that question, I just want to remind all of our debit card holders who have not picked up their new smart debit card. Your time is running out, because we will be deactivating all those old cards this coming weekend. We would have had a campaign for several months inviting persons to come on in to get their new cards. So we want to remind you once again to come on in by this weekend to collect your new smart debit cards. And specifically to all our Kittitian customers, you must visit the card center by Friday at 4 o'clock. And then on Saturday, the main branch will be opened from 9 a.m. in the morning until 1 p.m. so that you can pick up your card. We do not want anyone to have any inconveniences and not having access to their funds. And also to our New Vision customers, the branch will be open in Charlestown again from 9 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m. to collect your cards. This is the last go around. This is the last hurrah. You need to pick up your smart debit cards by this coming Saturday, after which point those cards will be deactivated. So you asked a very, very interesting, very good question. As you're aware, the St. Kitts-Nevis-Anguilla National Bank Limited was founded in 1971 to provide every citizen with a sound banking institution that provides innovative products, services, and a global standard of customer service to enrich every Kittitian and New Vision's lives. But National Bank doesn't stand for just selling a card or having you take a loan or mortgage. We take our community engagement very seriously, and we sponsor such things as the St. Christopher Outreach Center, aka the Soup Kitchen, the Pediatric Assistance League. We are the title sponsor for the SKNFA Premier Football League, the National Basketball League, the Netball League, and we annually contribute to both public and private school graduations and other educational initiatives. We also contribute to culture, and we are especially proud to announce that we are the official bank of this year's music festival. So National Bank has one common goal, Mr. Williams, which is to enrich the lives of every citizen in this federation. Therefore, when we state, when you bank at National, knowing our commitment to this federation, you now understand when we say you invest in your future. You may ask, well, how does a commercial bank have such a wide-ranging mandate? It is not typical, and you are so right. However, we are National, and as such, fully committed to improving the St. Kitts and Nevis experience through community and social responsible initiatives.
Okay,
So in a nutshell.
Right, so National Bank basically is a very good corporate citizen.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I heard you speaking about these smart debit cards.
Yes.
What is a smart debit card, and what makes it different to the other debit card, which you said would be deactivated?
Correct.
Eventually.
The new cards come with more security, and when we say smart, if you think of the analogy of a cell phone, the phones used to be regular cell phones and then they became smart. They could do so much more things. With the new debit cards, they are also embedded with a chip that enhances the security of your holdings with the bank. So when you go online to make a payment or you make a transaction, it is so much more secure. In addition to that, we also have what we call the contactless feature, where now you will be able to go to certain machines and place it in the proximity of the machine without swiping and have a transaction done. Hence smart.
Okay, great. Everything now is smart. Everybody is smart.
Correct.
Cell phones are smart, and TVs are smart, and everything is now smart.
Correct.
And at the very same time, we still question people and TV and phone and the smartness of them.
I agree.
Right. So one of the ways in which banks, of course, make money is through giving loans. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And before you can give a loan, you have criteria that have to be met. You now have two major loan programs, the National Pride and the National GRAD. Now let us begin with the National Pride. What is it? Could you give us a background to the National Pride?
The background behind it is simply this, that in 2012, the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation established Freestone Grasp Home Mortgages in partnership with National Bank and several other indigenous financial institutions to construct and finance middle to low income housing in the Federation. Since that time, National Bank felt the need to improve these two home mortgages by offering more attractive terms to facilitate home ownership. Accordingly, we have rebranded the Fresh and the Grasp into the National Pride and National GRAD, respectively. So you asked about the National Pride, and we take pride in this acronym. The National Pride stands for the Program for the Realization of Individual Dreams and Empowerment. I don't know if I need to say any more, because just that within itself.
There's some very key words there.
That's correct.
Realization, which means something becoming a reality, being realized. Dreams. Everybody have this dream of ownership, at least owning something.
Yes.
And one of the big things that a person can own in their lifetime is that of a home.
Correct.
And then empowerment. That's also a very big word. People feel empowered when they own something.
Correct.
They have a home and they're empowered. It gives them a certain boost their self-esteem and give them a certain dignity and so on, that you know you have something that belongs to you.
Right. And I think we should hire you on the marketing team, because I could say it no better than that. And that's exactly what we had in mind when the team from National got together to come up with what we call National Pride. And with this program, you can borrow up to $650,000 to construct a house relatively at affordable cost at a fixed rate of only 5% per annum for the first 10 years. I don't think there's anything else out there like that.
Right.
I'm not going to say to you that it's the best thing since sliced bread. What I'm going to say to you, because bread will wilt and go away. With a house, it will last a lifetime once you take care of it. And this program targets first-time homeowners who want to realize their dreams, like you say, of owning a piece of the rock. I know there are a few features there that we have. Miss Morton, now you're seeing there's a Miss Morton on the left and there's a Mr. Morton on the right.
That is correct.
You're right. I don't know if you want me to get into the features of that for you, because they're tremendous features to the Pride. For example, you can borrow up to $400,000 without any sort of down payment. So the first $400,000, there's no down payment whatsoever. You can consolidate debts, consumer debts. Right now you're living and you're existing as a result of that. You will have obligations that you have to make, whether it's a higher purchase or a small consumer debt. You can consolidate up to 10% of consumer debts into this mortgage. So for example, if you're borrowing $500,000, you can borrow up to $50,000 of that and apply that towards consumer's debt to help pay off those things. And a key ingredient is that it is to construct your home. You even have an opportunity to incorporate an apartment into that home experience. Now the experienced lender is on my left. I'm only giving you the highlights here.
Right.
And the primary residence of the borrower must be that home. You cannot build it and say you have it as an investment and someone else will live there. It must be your home.
Right. Okay, so you have highlighted some of the objectives.
Yes.
One, you said, of course, it's to provide affordable financing opportunities.
Correct.
So for citizens of St. Kitts-Nevis who are in the low to middle income?
Low to middle income earning area, correct.
Right, and then of course it's with the empowerment aspect of it, to promote self-empowerment through ownership.
Yes.
To provide debt financing relief through the consolidation of residential mortgages and miscellaneous debts.
Yes.
Create employment, because of course every time we know that homes are being built, it creates employment for people in the construction and service industry.
That's correct.
Increase disposable income and ultimately improve the standard of living of beneficiaries and stimulate economic development.
Correct.
I know that the government has its housing program, and the government cannot provide a house for everybody.
Right.
So therefore you have to have other programs home ownership programs, and this program is one such program.
Yes.
But nonetheless, it provides the very same stimulus to the economy in terms of economic development, providing jobs and so on for people in the construction sector and in the services industry and so on. And it's the very same thing, really, because you have to pay for the government house, you know.
Correct. Correct.
You know, it's a loan as well. You have to pay back for it.
That's right.
And so, supplementing, of course, what the government already has. You have the public sector,
Right.
and then you have the National Bank and so on.
Right.
Coming up with these is certainly a very good thing.
Well, I think it was another Morton namesake that was here not too long. Charles Morton was here, the head of
That is correct.
NHC.
NHC.
And he would have spoke about the experience of being able to have a turnkey experience with them. And even though they offer some level of financing, he was excited to hear about what National Bank is offering. So this program worked in alliance with so many other initiatives, as you just mentioned, which could make the pathway to home ownership in the Federation quite easy.
Okay, now Ms. Morton, we have this national pride. What's criteria for qualification?
You must be fully employed and between the ages of 21 and 70 years old, right? You should have approval to build, right? And have started the process already. We're only funding. We're not providing land for purchase or homes or any other plans. You can be your own design and build, or you can go to NHC, okay, or any other similar service provider to acquire those services if you're not preparing them for yourself. What the Pride does is that it gives you the opportunity to benefit, okay, from the equity, acquire equity from the government's initiative for first-time home owners through the duty-free savings program also. All right, we factor in those savings as a part of the loan. I'm not sure if you're familiar that when the Fresh was first introduced,
The Fresh Start.
yes, it was actually a two-loan program where they were giving you an equity loan, which at the end you would have to find financing from to pay off. We have eliminated that, and we're giving you a single loan and factoring in that savings ahead so that you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay off the second loan, right? You have more bang for your money with that program. And we also eliminated the need for you to have pre-owned land because we are financing the land and construction at the same time. All right? You would notice that the Pride has a tiered input requirement, and that comes from our merging two programs. Prior to the Fresh program, we also did financing of loans up to $270,000 without an input. We have increased that. You can still have access to up to $400,000. So we have merged that program with the Pride, the Fresh, and we have come up with Pride. And so everybody is covered under that umbrella for first-time owners.
Okay, now, can you be a non-national? Can you be a non-citizen and be qualified for funding under this program? You
No.
must be a citizen?
You have to be a citizen.
You must be a citizen. And can I apply for this program if I need to build construct a business, for example?
No, it's a personal loan.
It's a personal
yes,
loan.
personal mortgages only.
So it is for residential
Residential
home
home.
construction
Yes.
It's not for building, for example, if I want to build a mechanic shop or something like that. It's not for that purpose.
No, sir.
It's for residential home construction. So it could be, as you said, whether it's a new home or it could be ongoing. Is it
Ongoing in the sense that you would have started on your own, we would help you to finish.
You'll help the person to finish.
Yes.
Okay.
If it is for additions, extending to another phase, a home that is already occupied, there's other programs for that.
So within that residential home construction, I can have an apartment
Yes,
for rent.
yes, you can.
Okay. What's the criteria for that?
That space can take up no more than 50% of the total square footage of the property being constructed.
And the home has to be
The owner must also reside.
the owner must reside there. Okay.
Right, so just to hit that point home, it's about the home empowerment, as you say, and
Yes.
the home ownership, and that individual must reside and live there. It cannot be where, they already have their own home, their first home, and they have this piece of land, so they're looking to build another home and have someone rent from them fully in that establishment. That person who takes the mortgage or they borrow the funds must be residing on the property that is being built under this program.
Okay. What if I have another mortgage? Can I access the mortgage from National Bank?
You
You
can.
If I have another mortgage, because I know you will do your due diligence checks and all of that, you'll check around to make sure if people, have good credit. You'll check around to find out if people have other loans at other institutions,
A mortgage for
and
land.
so on. Right. So, if I have another mortgage for a home.
Oh, it's his first time home owner.
I would prefer to answer it like this, that we will qualify you for a mortgage, but just not under this program, because
Okay.
this program is for first-time homeowners.
It's first-time homeowners.
However, we do have a facility or a mortgage available for you if you want to have a second home.
Right.
We wouldn't want you to go anywhere else. We want you to come to National for that second mortgage as well. But it wouldn't be qualified under the Pride or the GRAD.
Okay. So the cost of the land and the legal fees are included in the 650,000.
That's a great point. It is. It's an all-encompassing experience that we have created here for you. And that's why we say when we're making the pathway to home ownership much more easier, it includes something that you never factor at the end, which is a tremendous legal cost, which can be incorporated in there if you choose to have it.
Now, what is the interest rate per annum?
5% on the Pride and 6% on the GRAD.
Okay.
Have we spoken about the GRAD as it?
We haven't touched that
Correct.
yet. We
yes.
haven't
So
touched
it's
the GRAD as
5%
yet.
is on the Pride, up
Right.
to the first 10 years.
Now, you also have what you call a PIP program, which is a property improvement program. What is it? And who is eligible
That is
under that program?
That was really introduced to assist people who would be paying for a current mortgage, okay, and they want to do renovations, expansions, maintenance, general improvement to that property. Okay.
So the family would have extended quite a bit because the parents or whoever living there would have been bountiful or fruitful. You would have seen some better hurricane windows that you would like to be put into the home to improve the and boost the strength of the home. So there are several different things that you see on these home improvement programs now that you would like to incorporate into your home. And this PIP or property improvement program is there to facilitate home improvement.
Okay. Now, how long is the loan for? What's the maximum term of the loan?
10 years.
It's 10 years. Is
For
it 30?
for-
I'm talking
for which
about
one?
for the Pride. We
Oh, I
haven't
thought
touched the
you- oh,
GRAD
for the
yet.
Pride.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the property improvement.
Property.
Property, that's correct.
Yeah, so it's 30 years, is it?
No, when it was first approved, we did 30-year mortgages. We're now doing 35.
Oh.
Okay, so you can get up to 35 years depending on your age, of course, to repay.
Depending on the age.
Yeah, your age at application.
Okay.
And that's one of the added improvements that we have. You can
So,
get a loan.
so you can get a loan, you said, if you're 70 years old, you said up to
No,
70?
we don't amortize it past 70.
Past 70?
Yeah.
Suppose I'm 65 years old.
Yeah, but-
What would be my maximum term in terms of paying off this loan?
About 5 years.
About 5 years, because it's 3 scores and 10.
You know, that's an interesting question, but I think it's also important to look at the individual and what is the income sources and stuff like that. So in a case like that, there's a case-by-case basis where the lenders will assess the situation and make
Ability to pay.
Right.
a good decision on that. That is fair to everyone.
You said 5 years. Can the Bible say 3 scores and 10?
That's correct.
And for those who are stronger, they go longer.
They go longer. That's right.
What about in terms of applications, the whole process? Tell me a little bit about the process. What a person would have to do, what sort of documents they would have to furnish, because of course they will have to come and meet with some loan officer or something. What are they expected to have?
So details of the transaction. So if you're purchasing the land and offer for sale for the lot, you're going to be building, so you're going to need approved drawings, architectural drawings, a corresponding estimate from a contractor or similar person for the cost, labor and material. In addition to that, income verification documents, that's your job letter, pay slips, and other as they become necessary, because we do different things for different persons. So if you're employed by someone else, it would be easy to get those things. We also do loans to self-employed persons, and so the process is a little different. All right. In addition to that, you would have to demonstrate that you have access to insurance. Okay, so you'd have to get an insurance quote to cover the amount being borrowed and for the period of the loan. And once you have a mortgage, you must maintain life and property insurance. So the cost of insuring the property against perils must be incorporated into your monthly expenses. So although you would be applying for the mortgage, there are other what we call related expenses that you would have, which would include the monthly insurance costs for life and property, as well as the mortgage. And we use that along with any other debt that you maybe have to determine your debt service ratio, your compulsory payment and plus compulsory expenses against your income.
Okay.
And for our loans, we have a tiered system for qualifying persons. It's three-tiered. 33% for persons earning lower than $21,000 per annum. Between $21,000 and $54,000, it's 40%. And above that is 45%, with a ceiling of 55%, right? For the higher income earners.
Okay. Right.
So I also want to mention there, she mentioned the insurances. We do have a sister, one of our subsidiaries in National Caribbean Insurance that offers you a wealth of insurance products. So we're saying once it's not mandated, but once it is that you're looking to get yourself a Pride or GRAD mortgage, that the next stop is to the insurer, and we recommend NCI, but it's not exclusive to that.
Right. Okay. Now, you can apply online. Is there an online portal that you can?
For now, no. So
No.
no. All of the applications
Must be submitted in writing.
official requests after, and it's in person, or you can mail it in.
You can mail it in.
Yes. Most persons like the interview method, but we do accept appointments via the internet as well as mail.
Okay. So you have all this due diligence process.
Yes.
And after the due diligence process, the person would be notified whether that they would have gotten the loan or not.
Yes.
And if they would not have gotten the loan, the reasons would be given
Of course.
for not getting it.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
And I would take it a step further, because I think our lenders go to great length to educate our consumers as well. So it's not only to tell you the reasons why you decline, but also give some sort of recommendations about how to make your application, to improve your application, so that in perhaps 6 months to a year, and even a little after that, that you can be in a better position to qualify. So we do take extra efforts to also give some sort of financial guidance and counseling to improve your financial position. But I also want to make a comment about the online. As it's not online, we are one of the rare and only institutions that can have you apply for a mortgage in Sandy Point, and you get qualified there to get a
So you
mortgage.
can apply at any
Because
branch.
any
branch.
branch that we have a location, you can apply. So it's either in the Pelican Mall in town, at the main headquarters, in Sandy Point, or in Charlestown. And there are no other financial institution can boast or brag that they have those sort of outlets available to you.
Now you also have the GRAD program. Whenever I hear GRAD, one thinks of graduates. And usually the graduate of some tertiary institution,
Correct.
a university. Of course, you know, it is very difficult for students having a student loan to pay, trying to own a home, trying to own a car. Sometimes the loan, just paying back the loan, is like a millstone around their neck.
Yes.
When they finish paying for the month, that student loan, there's hardly any disposable income. Much less to talk about owning a home or then buying a car, because then you have to finance that car and you know and to pay for that home and so on. Just can't do it.
Correct.
You know. And at the very same time, we still want to encourage more graduates in the country. Because let's face it, we speak about St. Kitts-Nevis having a very high literacy rate, which means people can read.
Yes.
But at the very same time, when you're exposed to tertiary education, you're not just able to read. You must be able to understand what you read
Correct.
and be critical in terms of what you read, and critical in terms of what you listen to, and critical in terms of, you know, critical thinkers in our society. Mind you, it doesn't start at that level. It doesn't start at the tertiary level. It should start down at the primary school level.
The grassroots.
The grassroots. But
Yes.
part of the problem that I have seen in society is that we need to have more critical thinkers. When people say something, you question it. You just don't run with it. You're not so gullible.
Yes.
You know?
I concur. We are especially proud of this next program because we ask, as you indicate, the youths and the students of the Federation to do well in school, go off to college, obtain good grades, come back and start a career that allows them to contribute positively to our community. And however, as you would say, with accomplishing these things, it is saddled, unfortunately, with debt. And as you rightfully say, I've heard many persons complain about having to pay for a student loan and thinking like it will never go away. But with the National GRAD, which means and stands for Graduates Realizing and Achieving Their Dreams Home Mortgage Program, it seeks to assist those same persons who are in that position, those persons who went off to UVI, who went off to those schools in Texas, Midwestern, who went off to UE, who went off to England, and have now returned and is saddled with it. The National GRAD is here to provide you with up to $650,000. And let me tell you the best part. There's no down payment to input if you don't want to borrow up to that amount at a 6% interest rate. So if you're paying a higher purchase right now, you're back home, you're going back home, you're living wherever you're living, and you purchased a bed and you're paying for that, and to get to work you might have purchased a vehicle and you're paying for that, but you still have the college loan or the student loan to pay. We are saying with this GRAD you can put all of those into one, amalgamate those debts, have one payment per month at only 6% interest rate per annum, and your horizon would be brighter.
Right. So you're speaking about a loan refinancing package, basically. Suppose I graduated 12 years ago. Am I eligible?
Yes.
Is it within a particular time frame that one has,
Well, it's within the last 10 years.
It's within the last 10 years.
His question was if he graduated 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you graduate for a loan, but just not the GRAD.
Just not the GRAD.
Yes, you qualify for
but
a
the
loan.
GRAD is within
The GRAD is within the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, it gives quite a range to persons. I know that there are persons still paying maybe another $30,000, $40,000. They're thinking this thing is not going away. And imagine this is a scenario, and then you're paying maybe another $20,000 on a vehicle. So that's a total of $50,000. You can have those two things amalgamated and still borrow $550,000 to build your home. So you add that to the portion to build your home, and it's still within $650,000 at 6%.
So you can build a home, you can acquire land, you can purchase a car, all within this package.
That's correct. That's correct. And we didn't highlight that you can purchase a vehicle, but we kind of leave that at the end to say, in addition to all of those things. Because the main point is to build your home and to complete the home. But within reason, we say you have the option to purchase a vehicle. And I don't want to say $150,000 vehicle as well. It's about owning your home. But there's still affordable vehicles out there. So one would make an informed decision, a prudent decision about, it's not about the vehicle, it's about the house and the security and the long-term benefits of that.
I'm happy that you keep stressing on completing the home. Because sometimes around St. Kitts and Nevis, and sometimes people start the home and they can't finish it.
Right, correct.
The Bible says you must calculate the cost before you go into something. So you really have to know what you're doing when you go into something, so that you just don't start and midway through it you fall flat on your face.
Correct. But with our lenders, we will make sure when we sit down to have this discussion with you, to provide help that gives them a very comprehensive understanding of what this experience is about. So it's a positive one for you as the borrower and for us as the institution. Okay.
And again, the graduate must be a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's correct.
And they also must have a student loan outstanding in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes.
Okay. So if I have a loan at the development bank and I'm a student, I can now go to the National Bank and I can have that loan refinanced.
Yes.
Correct.
Interesting.
But key to that is the student loan. But on top of that, we're talking about home ownership. So you're paying close to $2,000 or so, or a little over $1,500 for your student loan. You're paying another $800 for your vehicle. We're saying that we will amalgamate all of those facilities, credit facilities, and give you your key once the contractor obviously does his part to complete it, and have you paying relatively within that same amount of range monthly, and own all those things and own your home.
Okay.
Sure.
We also encourage persons, if you have not started, you're in the planning stages, to visit one of our locations, having a session with one of the interviewers to find out how much you qualify for. It makes life easier in the long run, because you would not go there and start commissioning a transaction that is outside of your reach.
So like the national pride, this national grad is 650,000.
Correct.
Yes.
You can borrow up to that amount. That's the maximum.
That's correct.
In terms you can borrow. Now, what's the interest rate on the national grad per annum?
6%.
It is 6%.
Yes.
And it
it's
is also okay.
One might ask, why is it just a tad higher? It's because of the component of being able to amalgamate more consumer debt. You're amalgamating your student, you're paying off your college loan. You may be paying off several consumer debts within that space, which would amounts to much more than what it is if you were comparing it to the pride. Because the component is that the 10% consolidation of consumer debt does not include the student loan. So on top of consolidating consumer debt, the student loan is outside of that. So that's where the pricing difference comes into play.
Now, do I need a down payment? You know, sometimes when you're getting a loan, they say when you must put in 10% first or 5% first or something like that. Do you have that as criteria? For example, for the national GRAD program, is there an input that is required or a down payment?
There's no input that is required for the GRAD. However, we do have some caveats. We are bringing over the student loan unsecured for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? So your value in the transaction would be the house, the value of the house, the value of the land, and any equity you would have acquired from applying for the savings exemption on the materials. And so we have a limit on the size of the student loan, which is $120,000. And overall, you're also getting in that instance, the money is for the expenses, which is the legal fees, loan fees, and other expenses, the consolidation portion, unsecured. So there's a cap on the unsecured portion, can't be more than 25% of the debt. Right? The lending to any single individual will not be more than 25% unsecured of the entire loan.
Okay.
That's a tremendous point, you know. And that's a tremendous commitment from National Bank to our borrowers, because we're saying, and what Paula was stating there, is that if we're paying off your student loan, that doesn't contribute to the value or increasing the value of the home. That's an additional debt that is outside of the mortgage itself. If we're paying off your consumer loans or we're paying your legal fees, none of what we're paying off there contributes to increasing the value on the property. Only the portion that is going towards the home does that, because you're using the funds to build the home. So if the home itself, you're only directly placing $450,000 towards the home, but then there's another $100,000 that you're using to pay off a student loan or to pay off your consumer debts. We're saying that your mortgage is easily $520,000, while the value of the home is $400,000. That's a tremendous commitment from the bank to our borrowers, and there's nothing, I think, out there like that. And that is why there's no reason to go anywhere else but to look to get more information from one of our lenders about how to get your pride or get your GRAD home mortgage.
Right. So, no down payment, no input is required for the GRAD. The maximum term in terms of paying off for this loan is what? How many years? The same as 35 years.
Up to 35
Up to
years.
35 years. You
Yes.
can pay off before, of course.
That's correct.
And at an interest rate of 6%,
6%.
per annum.
Yes.
Now, it's a good thing because no down payment, input required. Students don't really have collateral.
And I was about to highlight that. We're not saying to you, go out and get your good grades and accomplish all these things, come back and be saddled with that, and then turn around and find an input. I don't think it's practical.
Because a student doesn't really, you have your student loan, so you don't even have any land, you don't have any house, and so on. So what are you going to use as collateral?
Right.
You basically have no collateral.
Exactly.
You're trying to get collateral.
And this grad affords you that opportunity to build your wealth and build ability.
Right. Great. So these two loans are designed, of course, to empower
Correct.
citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And you must be a citizen.
Yes, sir.
Some people might say, well, it's a bit discriminatory.
It may sound, it appear that way, but our commitment, as I would have indicated earlier, as the People's Bank, and we were born out of the people, is to commit to our citizens of the Federation. And these two programs does that.
Is there anything that you want to say before we go to the phone lines that you want to clarify?
Not at this point.
So we are going to open up the lines. The local number to call is 465-2555. That's the local number. And the overseas number is 1-718-577-2916. That is 1-718-577-2916. We await your calls. We are here having a discussion on the St. Kitts-Nevis-Anguilla National Bank and two loan programs that they have. The National GRAD Home Mortgage and the National Pride Home Mortgage. If you have questions and you need things clarified, you now have the opportunity to call it. There's no one on the line as yet.
It indicates that we did a tremendous job of answering all the questions and no one has any concerns.
Okay, since this program has been launched, what has been the sort of response that you have had from these two programs? Because you were launched sometime in May, right? Have you had any response? What has that response been like thus far?
Quite robust, I would say.
It has been quite robust. Okay, so you've received quite a number of applications.
Inquiries and applications.
Enquiries and applications.
It was tremendous. When we launched, our brochures, for instance, was a key indicator of the interest. They ran out. We had to order more and order more again. And I have met many persons, especially who would have graduated, who are applying, who would call to ask questions. And it has been a very healthy response from the market.
Okay, so it is yielding the results that these two programs were intended basically to yield. If I'm a student and if I were to ask you, why should I refinance my student loan? What would you tell me, Miss Morton? What are the benefits of refinancing a loan? Because people might not know the benefits. I hear the term all the time, but what are the benefits?
Well, the average student loan repayment term is 10 years. You get the opportunity to spread that over a 35 year period. You also get the opportunity for one easy monthly payment on a single loan. Okay, so you have your student loan, your car loan, your house loan rolled into one. Okay, I think that speaks volume.
Right.
Right. Nowhere else in the normal world you'd have to juggle 4 payments, or 5, you have 1 payment.
Now, in terms of all the related costs, legal fees and all of that, what about those? Those are included in the...
They're included in the loan. Traditionally, you'd have to have saved those expenses, those funds up to cover the expenses. We now provide them as part of the loan.
Okay. Now, after 10 years, does the bank reserve any sort of rights with respect to the loan? Can you change the mortgage rate? I mean, revise the mortgage rate, for example, after 10 years?
Yeah, yes. We can revise it, and the trending for rates for the past 20 years has been downward, and so it would most likely end up to the benefit of the consumer 10 years from now. So you might really end up with a lower rate.
A lower rate, okay. But you're not going to end up with a higher rate after 10 years?
Traditionally, no. We have not been increasing rates.
Okay.
I think there's some factors to also be considered there, Mr. Williams, because as Ms. Morton indicated, that the trend for interest rate has been down. I remember when I worked at another indigenous institution, home mortgages were somewhere around 10%. But with that being said, there are other things that must be factored. 10 years from now, you would have possibly be taking the job of your boss, so your income power will be greater as well. What will be assessed would be based on economic conditions, what are the rates of the day. But we will also assess the individual's capability, because we won't put someone in a worse off position than where we are to default.
Right. Now, if somebody, you mentioned defaulting on a mortgage, suppose someone were to lose their job, that they are no longer able to pay for their mortgage on a monthly basis regularly. They end up in some sort of a difficulty. What is the bank's approach to such situations?
Unemployment is a reality. Everyone, or most of us, at some point in our life would have a period when we are unemployed, and usually persons are able to regain employment in reasonable time. If it's under a year, there would be some workout situations that are possible, of course, right?
So encourage the person to come in and to speak to you.
Definitely.
And you would definitely try to work something out with that individual.
Yes. And then once you have gained employment, we would renegotiate the terms, okay? And in every instance possible, try to make it affordable to you in your new situation.
Okay. Right, because of course you know that institutions, banks and so on, you don't want to end up with bad debt.
Right.
You know, and I've heard, for example, that in you know, some banks basically they have a lot of bad debt.
Right.
And so they are sometimes very reluctant in terms of giving loans because they don't have very good experiences of people paying for their loan. They may have to go and repossess the house or the car and all of that sort of a thing. But the bank has something in place. That's what I was trying to find out, where it can counsel people. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon. You know, a lot of people today is doing online courses. Do they qualify as well for the GRAD loan? And another question concerning the land. Does the student provide the land or does the bank?
We didn't get the second question.
Does the student problem?
Could you repeat the second question, please?
Yeah, for does the student is it would be the provider of the land, or is the bank is to assisting the student with the ownership of the land?
We only providing funding. And yes, to your first question, you can do studies at home. Once you have a student loan, you will qualify for the GRAD. Okay? And to the second question, no, the bank is not selling land. You would have to source land from private or individuals or the government, and then we will help you to pay for it.
Okay. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good day, good day.
Good day, we are hearing you.
Yes, how can I get a loan?
Yes. We are here and we are speaking specifically about two loans that are being offered by the St. Kitts-Nevis-Anguilla National Bank. The National Home Mortgage Loan, which is basically geared towards graduates of a university. And then the other loan is the National Pride Home Mortgage Loan, both which are capped at $650,000.
Okay, I guess that's the wrong program.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I mean, he was asking in terms of, I think, how do you get a loan? But that's a very general question.
Correct. Correct.
I think that we would have discussed and explained in terms of how to go about getting these two specific loans, the
Yes.
National GRAD and the National Pride. Right. Okay. Now, for the National Pride, while there is no down payment for the National GRAD, which you said, there is a required down payment for the National Pride home mortgage. Could you explain that?
That's for amounts, the input is required on amounts or transactions over $400,000. The input considered takes into account any equity you may have in the land that you're going to be building on. So if you've previously purchased the land, the value of that land is factored in as your part of your input. It may cover, and if it covers, none would be required. If it does not cover, there may be a small cash injection required.
Okay.
And that is worked out by transaction.
Right.
Okay.
So up to 400,000. There's no input.
No input.
However, from 401,000 to 500,000, it's 5% input. So that 5% input, as Ms. Morton indicated, say you own the land and the land is valued at least 5% of whatever the amount is being borrowed. There's no other cash additional input required. But the specifics are up to 400,000, no input. 401,000 to 500,000 is 5%. And then anyway, 501,000 to 650, it's 7.5%.
It's not 7.5%
Yes.
per annum. Okay.
Not per
So-
annum, but just your
Of
natural
the amount.
input up.
Of the amount, not
That's
per
right.
annum.
Yes.
Okay. Now you were saying that the down payment can either be cash or it can also be land, which is
Yes.
collateral.
Yes.
But the land must be on which the property is built. Is that?
That's correct. You can't use your brother's land down the road or some other piece of land. The property to which you're building the structure, the home, must be where you own this piece of land. Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we probably did not underscore in all of this in terms of owning a home, when you own a home, you have your own keys to your house.
Yes.
It's much better than renting a home.
And that's the empowerment part. That's the feeling.
And that's the
pride.
empowerment because
Yes.
the person you're living in a house, it is not yours, and you're paying someone else for their house. But when you own a home, you're paying towards your own house.
Correct.
And not paying towards somebody else's house.
Right.
You know, your keys, are yours. Nobody can come and take them away from you unless you're paying the bank. I suppose the bank can come and change the locks on the door.
It depends on where you're renting. Your rent might just be equal to the mortgage payment.
Might be just equal to the mortgage payment.
Correct.
So you have to make a decision. Do I want to continue to rent? You know, there are some people who have made decisions, and I've heard about that, that they prefer to rent than to build a home. Usually such persons don't have families. They're probably single. And they prefer to rent than to build. Have you ever heard of such?
One would say that a cross-section of persons contribute to the federation in their own way of contribution. But at the point where they're at, that's the decision they make. And later on, they may change and go towards home ownership at some later point. But their
it's always better to have your own.
It is always better to have your own. That is for sure.
Because you can't live in a house and you're renting from a person, and then you're still renting that house that you're paying rent for. But when you have your own home, at least you can rent part of it and so on. You know, you own it.
Correct.
You can rent it.
And once the mortgage is finished, you have no monthly payment to make.
And then you have no monthly payment to make.
And there's so many other benefits in that. But there's a question.
Working for you, good afternoon. Hello?
Very good day.
Good day.
Working for you?
Yes, you're on working for you.
What is the minimum in terms of debt does one have to qualify for the GRAD loan?
Minimum debt?
Yeah.
In what sense? Student loan you're talking of?
Yeah, in student loan.
There's no minimum, there's a maximum, which is $120,000 cutoff point for the student loan value.
Okay. And so you must have a student loan in order to qualify for it.
Yes, sir.
But even though you don't have a student loan, you can always qualify for the Pride.
You see, perhaps I would be out of the reach of the Pride because I will probably have a mortgage before a previous mortgage, so that probably would disqualify me.
Well, it would disqualify you from the Pride and the GRAD, but not from applying and obtaining a loan from us as a second mortgage.
So I would be disqualified from the GRAD as well if I have a mortgage.
Yes, because it's for first-time home owners, and under the GRAD you must have a student loan that you're currently repaying.
Yeah, but I understand the part with the Pride that you have to be first-time owner with the Pride, but for the student loan is the same requirements as well.
Correct.
You have to be you do not have to own a property.
But you do not have to own a property, but you must be a first-time homeowner.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for your inquiry. Okay. Now that caller, of course, seems eager to access a loan.
Yes.
But based on the conversation, somehow it seems as though he's disqualified.
Yes, the criteria seem to have disqualified him, but
Yes.
we were also saying let's have a conversation and see how best we can help him and get financing for whatever his needs are.
So that caller can still come into the bank
Sure.
and ask questions and to see how best the bank might be able to help him.
Yes.
Because let's face it, there are some people who would like to have loans.
Yes.
But today we are speaking about two specific loans, and these loans might disqualify some people really. Working for you, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. What's the criteria for a self-employed person? Small business owner.
For business owner?
Yes, small business owner, self-employed. I will listen off here.
All right.
Okay, sure, go right ahead.
You should be able, however, to prove your income. All right, that would entail having adequate records of your income for at least 2 years. Okay, so if you're not doing that now, you should start. If you don't have them, we can improvise. So if you should be in the banking system and have some sort of bank records if you don't have accounting records. Right?
Okay, so the bank would need to see for at least 2 years some sort of a statement of how you have been managing the business.
Yes.
For in other words, you can bring in something for the next, for 24 months in terms of this was my expenditure, this was my income, this is my profit, and things like that. So the bank can have some idea of how the business is actually doing.
Yes.
One of the difficulties at times is that if that person isn't regularly banking, there's no way outside of them saying so, their word of mouth. But when you're regularly banking and depositing the funds, you do have a record that you can provide that gives us an idea of what your inflows of incomes are, as well as what your outflows are. But for the individual who wasn't qualified, yes, we know that there are persons that would like to get amounts upwards of 650,000. We are here, we are not banking only for persons who want to borrow up to 650. These are just the two programs that we are promoting to target those first-time homeowners. But there are persons with the income to qualify for a higher mortgage,
right,
and we invite them to come on over. And I would say to the gentleman who was just listening, call us please at 465-2204, extension 1207, and ask a few questions and see what we may be able to do to help.
Right, so there are other loan programs that you have, that the bank has, that people who do not qualify for these two loan programs, the National GRAD and the National Pride, they can come into the bank and speak to the officers there in terms of how they can get a loan.
Correct.
Even though they don't qualify for these two.
Right, because we do have other mortgages that are there. It's just that I think these are two fantastic programs that we have available now. And for low to middle income income owners, we are saying this is your pathway to home ownership. So come and visit us and learn more about the National Pride and the National GRAD.
Okay, before we leave, I would like you again to outline the criteria for qualification for both of these programs, so that people will not be mistaken in terms of, coming in and wanting to apply, but yet they are not eligible.
There must be, and very good question, Mr. Williams, it must be a citizen, both programs, of St. Kitts-Nevis. For the GRAD program, you would have had to have graduated from the university or college within the last 10 years. It must be permanently and full-time employment. You must have that. It must be a first-time homeowner and agree to use the funds to refinance the existing student loan and construct or purchase a house. I think it's very important to highlight that, because under the Pride, you can only construct. You cannot purchase a home. With the GRAD, you have the flexibility of purchasing a home or constructing a home. And some of the other qualifications is that the qualifiers, the property being built must be occupied by the owner, and the amount loaned must bring the project to full completion. So you don't want to go and take money to get a vehicle to pay off consumer debts, but the funds isn't adequate to complete the home. It must bring the home to a completion, and you're able to turn your key and then reside and dwell in that home.
Right.
Under the Pride, again, you must be a citizen of the Federation, St. Kitts-Nevis. First-time builders of a residential. Again, the distinction is that you cannot purchase a home under the Pride, you must build. The outstanding debt and then debt relief is a key component of Pride, where we allow you to apply up to 10% of the amount borrowed to pay off your higher purchases. And I can tell you here, Mr. Williams, that I've seen higher purchases as high as 36%. Someone might say, in terms of interest rate, 36%. So you might hear, what am I paying for this piece of furniture? And they would tell you 2.5% per month. And you're thinking 2.5%, but that is 1 month in a 12-month year.
Right.
You must multiply that 2.5 by 12. And when you do the math, you're inwards of 30-something%. So debt relief by way of paying off these high interest consumer debts is one of the major factors of the pride. And last but not least, the property once again must be occupied by the person who's borrowing. You can't go and use it as an investment. It is an investment into your stability. It's an investment in your ability to own your own. But it cannot be an investment in which you're looking to have commercial gains from it.
Okay.
Outside of the one apartment. My apologies.
Can you just outline the key features of both programs? The key features.
The key features of the Pride would be access to buying land and building at the same time, consolidating your debts, access to funding of the compulsory expenses, which are the legal fees, insurance, and other similar expenses. And whereas with the previous program we didn't allow apartments, we now allow apartments.
Okay.
Right? And the same with the GRAD. You can build an apartment as well. You can roll in your student loan unsecured, gain access to fees to cover the expenses of the transaction, purchase a vehicle, and consolidate consumer debt.
Okay. Well, that's it. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we leave?
Paula?
Thank you for the opportunity, and we hope that our listeners will take the opportunity to apply. There's no time frame on the offer. It's going to be there. You're going to have time to prepare yourself and apply in your own time.
Right, so this isn't a promotion where in 3 months the National Pride and National GRAD goes away. These two products are here to stay. And I would just like to close by saying that our people, our staff, is national soul. And they are our greatest differentiator. Our staff humanizes the National Bank movement and experience that so many of our customers have come to expect and appreciate. So when other institutions are leaving our shores, you can be confident that National Bank is here to stay. So we invite you to come on in and check one of our lenders at any of our numerous branches around the Federation and apply for your National Pride and National GRAD home mortgage.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming today and to share about these two loan programs that you have. Basically, it will help, as you said, the National Pride. It's a national program for the realization of individual dreams and empowerment. And the National GRAD program, which is basically graduates realizing and achieving their dreams. Those words, realizing, dreams, empowerment, pride. That those words actually say it all. And so, as both officials from the bank have said, you can go in to the bank and see how you can benefit from these two loan programs. You have been listening to another edition of Working for You. Next week we will be back for another edition of Working for You. I am Les Roy Williams. Until then, take care.
Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts-Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts-Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.